The 2023 Daytona 500 is in the books. It did not disappoint. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is your winner, and we'll go into more detail starting in 6 single seconds. All right, Daytona 500 just ended. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is your winner. How do you know he's your winner? Well, because NASCAR said he was. I don't know. I'm happy for him and his team. I am absolutely frustrated with that. Where the caution comes out as the winner situation. I'm not even particularly a Joey Logano fan, so it's not like my driver would have benefited from it. I wish I had an answer for it. I mentioned this in last night's video. It's a convoluted rule. I don't know a good way to simplify it, but I don't like it the way it is. And that's the nature of super speedway racing. A lot of times that's how the race is going to be decided. I don't know. For the purposes of this video, I didn't look up how many times out of the last how many times races ended on a super speedway that way, but I know it's been a lot. So anyway, let's get to the details. Ricky Stenhouse picks up the third win of his career, all 3 being on super speedways. This undoubtedly being the biggest, especially since he is now with JTG Doherty Racing. The last couple times he won, he was with Roush Fenway Racing, now Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing, and the Fords pretty much dominated the end of the race. They just crashes, just broke everything apart as per the usual for the Daytona 500. The first stage was completely clean. The second stage was mostly clean. And the third stage was utter chaos. NASCAR.com is showing currently 52 lead changes. I don't know if that's accurate. That may be inaccurate. It's because NASCAR.com is also showing that Joey Logano won the race, which we know that didn't happen. So there was at least 52 lead changes going up to the last caution. What the actual total is, I don't know. There was a lot of lead changes. Let's leave it at that. A total of 212 laps, the longest Daytona 500 in history, which I'm kind of surprised at. It feels like that there's been a couple with more than 1 or 2 green, white checkers. I guess not. Now going back to the beginning of the race, from the start, they kept a pace lap formation, 2 by 2 by 2 by 2, front all the way to back, up to about lap 14. The only real incident in the first stage was Riley Herbst spun coming to pit road during the green flag pit stops in the first stage. And on lap 50, Martin Truex Jr. got a little aggressive on a bump draft and bumped Bubba Wallace up into the wall, which I thought actually was going to pretty well kill Bubba Wallace's day. Undoubtedly, they got him patched up and out there because he was on the lead lap and running close to the front towards the end of the race. There was no caution for that as well. Stage 1 was won by Brad Keselowski, and I'm telling you, I really thought he was going to be the guy to beat today. He was who I had my money on. He was also leading at the halfway point. He was in control a lot of the race. There wasn't many times when it felt like one driver was really controlling the race. Brad Keselowski, it felt like he was controlling the race there for a while. Another side note, Jimmy Johnson in the 84 for Legacy Motor Club, he was up inside the top 10 around the halfway point of the race. And he didn't run up front much, but he was in the mix. He didn't just fade to the back. So, it's good to see him back on track. Even though the storybook Cinderella story with him winning didn't come to pass, it was still nice to see Jimmy Johnson back out there. He said that before the race, he was quoted as saying that, this feels like home. He spent a couple of years in IndyCar. Now he's back with NASCAR, and I think that's really where his heart and his talent lies. I absolutely respect that he's wanted to go and branch out and do other forms of motorsports. He's a racer. He absolutely should. If that's what he wants to do, then he should go do that. But it's good to see him back in a stock car. And on lap 118, the quiet before the storm, the calm before the storm, the quiet was pretty much snuffed out. On lap 118, and a bump from Harvick got Tyler Reddick out of shape. Tyler Reddick slid into Ryan Blaney, and the wreck was on. Involved in that crash was Ryan Blaney, Tyler Reddick, Eric Jones, Chase Elliott. Martin Truex Jr. got a small piece of it, but he continued on pretty well unscathed. Same with Kyle Larson and Kevin Harvick. During stage 2, Kyle Busch, during the green flag pit stops on stage 2, Kyle Busch got penalized, speeding on pit road, so he had to run a pass-through, which put him a lap down. So, I never really counted him out. I never thought that he was totally out of it. I just knew there was going to be a hole he'd have to climb out of, and that proved to be 100% correct. Ross Chastain won stage 2, but that's really all we heard from him during the day. I expected Ross Chastain to make more of a statement during today's race, but that was never really much of a factor. He did win stage 2, so I guess he was something of a factor. He got those stage points, but I don't recall hearing or seeing much more of him other than that. Close to the end of stage 2, he led those laps and then kind of faded back. I'm not sure if his plan was to hang back and wait till the end. A run towards a win never really seemed to materialize for him. Caution came out on lap 140. Ryan Blaney, I say a loose tire. It wasn't a loose tire. He had a tire come off. He got involved in that earlier crash, and it pretty well, his car, I was surprised they got him back out there. His car was really damaged. I'm surprised they made minimum speed, but that was pretty well the end of his day, as if the day wasn't. The day was already done. I guess he was out there trying to salvage points, and that effectively ended with the caution on lap 140. And on lap 181, another crash touched off when Michael McDowell got into Ryan Preece. Ryan Preece got turned, and then once again the collision was on. Michael McDowell, Ryan Preece, Kevin Harvick, Martin Truex Jr., that was well the end of his day. Chase Briscoe, Ty Gibbs, and Jimmy Johnson all involved in that one. Restart with 13 laps to go. And I was starting to think it might actually go green all the way to the finish. I should have known better. I really should have known better. With 3 to go, Kyle Busch is leading. Daniel Suarez, which kind of ironic. Daniel Suarez is the one who turned Kyle Busch in the dual race, and I think in the roundabout sort of way, I think Daniel Suarez probably killed Kyle Busch's Daytona 500 win. He was leading with 3 to go. His teammate was right behind him. I didn't see granted, who knows what would have happened, but there was 3 to go. Kyle Busch was in the lead, and Daniel Suarez spun off the 4th turn, bring out the caution, set up everything that happened after that. Kyle Busch definitely did not win the race. I was surprised. The choose rule was in effect. The new choose rule, it's not a new choose rule. It's new at super speedways, and I thought that earlier in the race it would play a bigger role. It didn't really seem to come into effect till the end. In the end of the race, it was definitely a factor. But I was surprised to see that Joey Logano and Harrison Burton, who are ipso facto teammates, didn't choose the same lane. I'm sure there was some coordination. I'm sure there was some sort of plan there, but I expected teammates to choose the same lane. They didn't always do that. And the case was the same for Roush Fenway Keselowski drivers. Brad Keselowski and Chris Buescher also didn't choose the same lane. So maybe there was some strategy there, something I didn't see, something I didn't think about or consider come into play. Clearly that they didn't just bail on each other, so I'm sure there was some sort of plan there. I want to see how, when we go to Talladega, that plays out again. I thought that it was going to be a more obvious role in the Daytona 500, and that didn't really come to fruition. And I'm sure we'll see it play out a little differently come Talladega. So on the first green-white checker, after the Suarez spin, Kyle Busch, him and Austin Dillon, they were trying to work together, but it didn't really pan out as well. Ricky Stenhouse, Joey Logano got hooked up on the outside. Kyle and Austin Dillon kind of got their push off kilter. And so Austin backs up to William Byron. William Byron is pushing Austin Dillon, and I think Kyle's just waiting for that push to materialize, to come back, and hopefully that gets some momentum to go up to the front. That's not really what happened. William Byron got aggressive, and Austin Dillon did not hang on to it. That set off a big crash. I didn't even write down all the drivers who were involved in it. Pretty much took out a lot of major players. Set up the last green-white checker finish. And I'm sure you guys, if you're watching this now, you saw how it went. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is in the lead, and no one can get organized enough to pass him. Everybody's out for themselves, which is to be expected. It's the Daytona 500. It's the last couple laps, and everybody wants to win. Well, unfortunately, at a super speedway, you can't just win by yourself. Someone's going to have to push you if you're going to pass the leader. Luckily for Ricky Stenhouse Jr., nobody could get it together. Nobody could help one another. Everybody was out for themselves, which effectively handed him the win. Congratulations to him and his team. The race pretty much played out exactly as I thought it would. It followed the pedigree of the last couple of races. One side note, Martin Truex Jr., man, we saw a much more aggressive side of him. He got the incident I mentioned earlier where he bumped Bubba Wallace. Bubba Wallace gets into the wall. And there were a couple other incidents where Martin Truex Jr. was really aggressive, and he was quoted pre-race as saying he's mad. When they asked him after the Busch Light Clash at the LA Coliseum, they asked him what was different about him this season versus last, and he said, "I'm mad." And then before the race, he clarified he was more disappointed in himself but mad. But I think this man knows his time in the series is probably kind of coming short. The bulk of his career is definitely behind him, and I think he's out to make a statement. I hope this Martin Truex Jr. has been a guy who's been almost, sometimes to a fault, a little too conservative. He doesn't show a lot of aggression. He doesn't show a lot of willingness to bump and bang and get his elbows out. And again, I always say, I don't like to put a whole lot of weight into one race. That's just one race. Something to keep an eye on, though. Something to watch in the future. Is Martin Truex Jr. going to come out here this season and just say, the heck with everybody, I'm out for me, and that's the end of it? Could be fun to watch. And so the results of the Daytona 500 are as follows. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is your winner. Joey Logano started from third, ran second. Christopher Bell, third. Chris Buescher, fourth. Alex Bowman, the pole sitter, for the sixth pole in a row, comes home fifth. A.J. Allmendinger comes home second. I'm telling you, A.J. Allmendinger, I really thought had a shot to win that thing. He was up front at the end, and I'm thinking, man, how cool would that be? A lot of people have pigeonholed him as a road course only guy. And even a couple weeks ago on Sirius XM Satellite Radio, somebody had asked him about, well, why did you decide to make a comeback to the Cup Series? Was it because we have a bunch of road course races now? And he was real quick to say, look, I feel like we can win anywhere. And I was thinking, man, what a statement that would be if he comes out and wins the Daytona 500. About as far from a road course as it can get. He didn't win, but, man, I think he did make that statement. Maybe not quite as loudly as a win would have, but I think the NASCAR world is on notice. A.J. Allmendinger has a fast car and knows he can win anywhere. Daniel Suarez comes home seventh. Ryan Blaney, eighth. Ross Chastain in ninth. And Riley Herbst, driving for Rick Ware Racing, comes home 10th. That's a good run for that team. Outside the top 10. Normally, I really don't want to cover outside the top 10, but I want to go to 11th. Travis Pastrana finished 11th. What a day for Travis Pastrana. His foray into stock car racing before this season had not gone very well. A lot of people said he did not belong. Well, he silenced a lot of naysayers. I remember when they announced he was coming to the Daytona 500, a lot of people were on the radio and on TV and on social media saying he did not belong. And then I thought they were full of it, and now I definitely think they have been zipped shut because Travis Pastrana, he stayed in it all day long, come home 11th. I know a lot of crashes helped. He had to be on the lead lap. He had to be there to capitalize, and that's what he did. So good for him. One of the guys that works on the race team I work for on the number 20 truck is a huge, and I do mean huge, Travis Pastrana fan. So I don't know if he's happy with 11th or not. I don't know. It's tough when your favorite driver doesn't win, but I have to believe he's thrilled with that. So congratulations to 2311 Racing and Travis Pastrana on a honestly a fantastic showing in the Daytona 500. I do think my favorite story out of the Daytona 500 though was Joey Logano's hair. Did anybody not notice? Did anybody really not notice? I'm sorry. I shouldn't pick on Joey Logano. It made me laugh though. If you don't notice, just go back and look at some Joey Logano photos from about, 6 months ago, and look at his photos from today. I'll leave it at that. Next week, Auto Club Speedway on the last running of the 2-mile configuration of Auto Club Speedway. Then it goes into a half-mile racetrack. I really, really wish the Truck Series was going there. I've never been to Auto Club Speedway. I've drove past it. That's it. So I wish the Truck Series was going there. If any Xfinity Series teams or Cup Series teams are watching and need a hauler driver for next week, I want to go because I want to see it on that last run of the 2-mile configuration. Otherwise, I won't be back at the track until Las Vegas. If you happen to be in the Truck Series garage and want to get by the number 12 and 20 holler and say hi, please do so. I'd love to see you. Meantime, get out and support local racing, ladies and gentlemen. Racing depends on it. Get out and support local racing. Congratulations, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and the number 47 Clean Eggs JTG Doherty race team. Have a good rest of your weekend. What few hours are left of it. Have a good week. How about that? Have a good rest of your work week. Have a good President's Day. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.